So anyway, as my introduction here said, we've had that land in the central city for some years now, really starting buying it about 2000. And although people said the central city wasn't vibrant at the time, from my point of view, we had a full tenancy list, many people working in the Whitcoulls building and the old Weekly Press and Shades, and I was quite happy with it. And come 2010, that all changed. I'd been about to retire and settled down to a few twilight years, and suddenly the earthquake came, as it has for all the people in this room and many people outside of it as well. We then started on a journey, and that's all I can say it is. It's easy to look back and say we should have done things differently, but it was a journey. First of all, we had to address the issues of the insurance claims, and then we had to address the issues of the planning, and then we had to address the issues of the designs, and then we had to talk about structural engineering and geotech. And for the vast majority of us, this was all new, something we'd never experienced before, never knew anything about. So like many other people, myself and my wife, who was the two shareholders in the company, started out trying to rebuild our assets effectively in the central city. Many people took the money and ran, and it's hard to be critical of them because it is the obvious thing to do. But we were talked about cellular fatigue, I believe, one of the speakers, and there's no doubt about that. It is very tiring. Holidays become something that you just don't have time to fit in, and you just have to keep on going. So I'm not trying to play the violin to you, so to speak, but it is tough, and every day is a very busy day. When I was asked to speak initially, we saw seismics in the city, and I thought, well, that really revolves around the state of the land and what you build on it. So the new witch doctors of Christchurch effectively became the geotech department, and they have done that, drilled their holes and come up with plans that need to be addressed. I would have to say that it depends on which geotech engineer you use as to what actually needs to be done. And even if the results of the drilling are correct and agreed with other geotech engineers, then what you do to mitigate the problems as far as the geotech goes varies from structural engineer to geotech engineer and all the rest of it. In the Cashel Moor, for instance, there was no liquefaction. I searched quite clear, through the whole of the site. No, but I'm told that it is a liquefaction area. So we did a ground remediation, pumping stones into the ground at great expense. Then we had to tie the foundations into those remediated land. And yet just up the road in Anthony Goff's area, they did a completely different system. So there's no finite answers to these problems. All the experts have different opinions, and you just work your way through them as best you can and come up with something you think is probably adequate for the process. And certainly I don't want to be sued for any slander or anything on all this, but for instance, base isolation. Initially we were told, got to have base isolation. Then you go and see someone else and they say, oh no, don't have base isolation. That's terrible, that. If you get another, that only works for horizontal earthquakes. Vertical earthquakes, it's the worst thing you'd have is base isolation. So us poor developers, we say, well, what do we do, guys, And so you make your call effectively, and you just hope that you're right, or you hope the next earthquake is the one that you've provided the remediation for in advance. Very difficult, very difficult. I mean, there are structural engineers and geotech engineers who say that Christchurch will never have another earthquake for many, many years because all the energy has been dissipated. I remember this expert from Auckland was talking to me about it, and he said, no, he says, you're fine in Christchurch. He says, I'm a little worried about a bit further up the road. And I said, well, you mean Wellington? No, he says, Ashburton. So, he might have said down the road, who knows. And so there are all these imponderables that still lie ahead for us. I mean, there's going to be no finite answers to this. It's going to be an ongoing journey, as I said, that we'll all be going through. There'll be mistakes made by all of us, and by the government, and by the council. And there'll be good wins, good sort of, oh, that was a brilliant decision. So it is, as I say, still an evolving process, something that you mustn't criticise yourselves or people for. We just all got to do our best. It takes a lot of courage, whether it's putting your money into it or indeed making decisions that affect the whole of the area and the whole of Canterbury. So I'd ask you all to sort of bear that in mind. The only way we're going to succeed here is by everyone just doing their best. And it's easy to criticise, but if everyone keeps on going that way, the law of averages, you'll make more good decisions than bad decisions. So thank you very much. I don't think I've really got anything else to add, but